Welcome to Date Night Podcast,
a tabletop role-playing game podcast set in the homebrew world of Volyanaya.
Let's explore a whole new world together.
Last we saw Durn, he had boarded the Thundercloud with Griffin the Giff to make his way to the mainland from Limoges. So, Durn, you've made your way back across the Baccarian Sea, this time not on an orcish slaver ship tossed to and fro by sickening waves, but this time on the Thundercloud, which moves at an incredible speed and
has sickening turbulence.
Also incredible heights, which probably for you causes the view to be much the same as it was on your previous journey, mainly that of the inside of a ship. At least
Hopefully
this time,
it smells better.
Yeah, it's a private room rather than one with all those smells of other
ship and pits.
Captured folks with you. I guess real quick, what's the time on the ship been like? Have you been by yourself in your room? Have you taken meals in the galley? Have you spent any time talking to the crew?
Well, I was already kind of antisocial, so I would say that I would have been as alone as possible. I would have eaten something, but probably not in the galley.
Okay. So it's been kind of a lonely trip, just you able to think a little bit about some of the events that have transpired in the past few weeks that have caused you to leave your party and start heading back to the mainland. You've been told that you're going to be docking first in a place called Cliffshire. There's a number of passengers on board who are, they were merchants who were spending time in Albagula while it was at rest because it was a really good place to trade. But now that Albagula's gone back to the sea, they're headed back to their homes. And many of those can either get there from Cliffshire, and a few of them even lived there. Griffin also plans to take on supplies when he lands there. So that's kind of the itinerary. Cliffshire is not far from... It's fairly far from Kufo. The closest thing nearby to it was an old mine that you had spent some time at earlier in your story before we picked up with you at the temple during our episode 0. So you go ahead and land in Cliffshire with the Thundercloud, and you see basically a halfling city built into the side of a cliff near the coast between... there's a big bay between kind of the area where Kufo is and a few other parts of the mainland and the 10,000 cities. And this is on one of the harbors on that bay on the south side, on the same side as Kufo. So you land there, you can see that there are lots of pulleys and platforms built into the side of the cliff where the halflings have halfling holes kind of built into the land there to enter from that side. A few bigger structures up on the top of the cliff where it flattens out, and some more ramshackle type structures actually down built on the coast on the beach, and then like big caravans of traders and wagons and things all near the harbor with pretty nice pavilions and tents and things set up around there too. As you get a bird's eye view, you also see one sort of out-of-place building near the harbor there, like a huge mansion among all of the other things that seem fairly temporary. And up top on cliff top, you can also see hippogriff roosts and some really large-looking inns and some of the fancier buildings in town, it seems like. That's about the view you get as you come in and you feel the ship descend and land down near the coast, in between coast side and the ocean. Griffin, I don't know, I guess you were outside when all that occurred, or you could have just been looking out the porthole in your cabin. I guess if you were, Griffin would come your way and kind of say, Well, Durn, we're ready to dock here. We're going to stay here for a little while.
All right. Just wanted to thank you for the free passage here. And
Oh, no. It wasn't free, not at all. You did a very good... really drummed up a lot of business for me when we were back in Albagula. I appreciate it, and I needed to come here anyway, bring most of these folks as where they wanted to have passage, and honestly, this is probably a pretty good place to pick up some supplies. I'm planning to take them back to Lamoche. I'm not really a trader, you understand, but they need goods, and you really don't have to be that savvy to sell food to refugees or weapons to desperate militias. So I'm not pretending to be doing good by them, but we'll all have something to gain by me going back, I think. But I'll be here probably most of a week. I've got to go take the skiff out, pick up some powder, not too far from here. If you need a place to stay, you're welcome to continue to use your cabin here until you leave, or until we leave, or if not, I suppose this would be goodbye.
Durn holds out his hand and just shakes the...
Okay. He reaches out his big, meaty, hippopotamus folk hand and gives it a shake.
I feel the need to give as firm a grip as possible, just to not feel intimidated.
Make a strength check.
That's going to be an 11.
Hey, I rolled an 11 plus like 3, so
Yeah.
a little tighter grip, but
comparable,
respectable. Okay. All right, then. Well, do you need any help getting any of your supplies off?
No, I think I can manage.
All right, then. Good luck with whatever it is that you do. And if you decide you need to go back, or need an airship at any time, I dock in Cliffshire at least once every few months. So,
appreciate it.
All right. And he starts ordering some of his crew around and kind of turns the other way and gets back to work.
Remind me, it's been, as far as our time goes, it's been a few months.
Right.
I'm headed where ultimately? No, it wasn't back to Kufo. It was...
Yeah, you kind of had a moment with
Atalanta.
Well, yeah, with Atlanta, but it was more with your wrestling with yourself and kind of your vows and trying to understand if you had broken them, when you had, you had broken some laws, and that was giving you a lot of angst. You tried to return and seek the judgment with Albagula, but it went off into the sea before you had a chance to serve your time that you were given by the judge there. So you just kind of decided that while you were with the party, you did things that were suspect for you, and you thought you had to leave for a little while. But I don't think it was kind of clear that you weren't ready to go back to the temple yet, and you weren't sure if you should. But it seemed more like you were looking for maybe a place to think things over and make a decision about what you wanted to do. At Atlanta had kind of told you, sometimes balance is not just about law, which was maybe something hard for you to hear. Your temple was definitely more about the importance of sticking to the law. So those are kind of in conflict, I would think, still, for Durn at this point. That was probably a quick catch-up.
Fair enough.
All right.
So I guess I exit the ship and head into the town.
All right. Yeah, when you exit the ship, you are in, or closest to the two sections of the town that are down on the coast. You're kind of in between Hillside, which is next to where the harbor is. And that's the place with, like, the trade caravans, temporary lodgings, for the most part, pavilions, tents, and things like that.
Real quick, one more. I'm sorry to interrupt. One more point of order. I'm assuming on the ship I got a long rest.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You would have been on there.
Because I was at death's door when we
probably
finished off last time.
It wouldn't take that long to get across on the airship. It's pretty quick, but probably still like 4 days or
Okay.
something.
10-4.
No, just 4.
And
You're in between hillside and coast side. Coast side is the flat area where most of the kind of haphazard and slapdash buildings of the town are. It looks kind of like a slum type area. That's where you get off the ship. You can see the majority of people here are Halfling, but near the harbor there's all different kinds of sorts, but kind of in the city proper it's mostly Halflings. Is there what would be your first point of business, I guess, after finding yourself in a new, unfamiliar town?
Well, I mean, probably go get some food and provisions and get ready for the long trek up to not Kufo, but the greater Kufo metropolitan area, I guess.
Yeah,
would be
okay. All right, so you're going to probably try to track down something like a tavern, someplace you could get some food.
Yeah, let's go there.
As you wander around for a while in the slums, you do come across a couple of places. There's a really, like a small timbered building with very poorly thatched roof. Looks like it's a dirt floor leading into it. It's got a very weathered sign from the salt water of the sea that says the Sage's Rose. That would be the first, probably, tavern that you would come across. Is that a place looks a little worse for wear?
Sounds about right.
Okay. So you wander inside. It is a dirt floor covered in straw, and there's an innkeeper. It's a short female halfling who's just kind of lounging over to the side of the inn. There's not too many people inside at this point in time in the tavern part of the inn. Looks kind of like a slow time of day, maybe. And she's just kind of got a big floppy hat kind of pulled down over her face, tilted back on 2 legs of her chair, up against the wall.
So I'll sidle on up to the bar and ale.
All right, she tilts forward on her chair and says, it'll be an ale then.
Aye.
Oh, fine. She goes over, fills one up. Just make a quick insight check.
Am I proficient? I am proficient. Wow. Okay. 15.
Okay. She actually looks over like your getup in here.
The shiny armor.
Yeah. And looks a little bit uncomfortable. But that's about all you pick up on her there. So what brings you to Cliffshire then, hey?
I swear we docked. Just passing through, really.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Well, here's an ale. That'll be a silver piece.
At 8. Flipper 1.
All right. So the ale's kind of watered down. Not particularly good.
I'm not picky. It's all ale.
You've had halfling ale before, and this is not one of the better ones that they brew, but it's something. It's better than water. Better than some of the things you've been drinking while you're in Limoges, too.
Sorry, I'm looking for my inventory that I apparently misplaced from last time.
All right. Let's go over to Trixie for a little bit. Trixie.
Your name's Trixie. Oh.
We left you last still invisible, having left a mansion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were, what, if anything, were you planning on doing next?
I'm looking around.
Okay.
Was there anybody there still or no?
Outside the mansion?
Yes.
That was in the harbor area, so there were a lot of different races of people bustling around. Looks
Oh,
like
they
a
were-
lot of traders, caravan guards,
They were still
things
there.
like that. Hmm.
I'm probably going to try and pickpocket someone for the
Okay.
fun of it.
All right, just do quick
We're going to be fast friends, aren't
do a
we?
perception check real quick.
$19.
Okay. You see that there's one ship that was in the harbor that looks much fancier than most of the other ones. It looks almost like a flagship out of a actual fleet rather than just trading ships. And you see that there's a lot of servants and things going to and fro with a bunch of luggage in and out of this ship. Looks like, even based on just the way the servants are dressed, there's some pretty wealthy folks around. So you kind of hang around the line of them moving supplies off of the ship and into town. Find a likely mark and make a sleight of hand attempt.
$12.
Okay. With that, just start to pull the string on one of the servant's pouches. He notices, grabs for the pouch, looks around, doesn't see anybody near him, and restrings it tight. And he looks back over his shoulder to the other person who's helping him carry this trunk. They're kind of walking in a line, and he's got his other hand behind holding the handle, and he says, "Watch your pockets." And they just keep walking.
I go find somebody else.
Okay.
I rolled a flat 18 plus stuff.
What are you're looking for somebody else?
Yes.
Or okay. You find instead of one of the servants this time, you think you might have better luck making a shot. It actually looks like somebody who's maybe one of the noble folks or part of the family traveling. It's a teenage girl, very fancy get up, and she's very loose, seemingly, with her purse and the way that she's walking and trying to look impressive. What's that?
11.
Okay. This time, you make a grab to try and get inside her purse, and despite the fact that she doesn't look like she's paying too much attention, she's got a tight grip on it, and when you go to snag the whole thing away from her, it pulls her toward you, and one of the guards who's walking in the group spots this occurring as she shouts out that somebody's trying to steal from her.
I'm going to hide or whatever. Stealth away.
Stealth away. Well, you're invisible, so
Yeah.
you are currently hidden. So
Okay.
I mean, not hidden. You are currently unseen, so you can make an attempt to hide.
Yes.
You can roll a stealth check at advantage because you're invisible.
Sorry, so that's my mod plus my proficiency thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. Not nat 20.
Okay. You seemingly find a place where you, even though you're hidden, you duck next to or behind like a barrel so that even as people are feeling around, it seems like a place where nobody's going to just walk over you near the dock. But you hear that they're kind of on the down low a little bit, but as people are going by, you hear people are talking about how there's somebody going after purses here in the area and just keep them tucked tight.
Okay, I'm going to leave the area because I also don't know how long it's been since.
Yeah, and you don't probably have a good idea how long this lasts unless you want to roll an Arcana check to see if you have.
Sure. Nope.
You don't know how long this effect is going to continue. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Where would you go anywhere after that?
No, just wander off.
Okay. About this time, Warden you came in here near the harbor, and with your caravan. I don't know, were you traveling with anybody on this trip to Cliffshire, or is this something you were kind of going alone?
Lone journey.
Yeah. Keeping it on the down low a little bit? Okay. So you arrive just with your single wagon, figure out that this is pretty much where people camp when they arrive in town. You could leave your stuff there at a stables and try and find an inn or a hotel. That'll be up to you. One of the first things you notice when you're in town is the same big flagship. You recognize the crest that's flying on the flag. The sails are down, but as the Grey Castle one, and it's very.
I perked him up.
It definitely stands out among the other things there. Kind of as you're getting a view to see if anybody you recognize is there, you see people ferrying item after item and luggage off of the ship, and then eventually see kind of a hullabaloo of guards running around looking for something, and then
I have no idea what they're...
pulling some of the city guard toward the area to help escort the people to where they're staying.
Okay.
Daggone it, your sister.
I'd like to stay within vision distance of the ship, but sort of off to the side, just trying to assess what's going on.
Okay. I think that would be pretty easy to do with how many people are moving back and forth with their goods that they're bringing into town, people who are setting up their camps. It would be easy enough for you to just hang out with your wagon for a little while and watch. As you do, go ahead and roll a perception check.
Uh, 12.
Okay. You watch for a little while, and it seems like a large group of people have left the ship. There's still some activity going on board, like it's not been completely unmanned or anything, but you haven't spotted anybody in particular that you would recognize.
Okay. So if that's the case, then I'll go ahead and set up camp here and go into town looking for supplies and whatnot.
All right. So you head into town. The first spot to get into town would be to go to Coast Side, which is where all the ramshackle houses and things are, because that's how you can actually get up into the cliffside. You've been here a few times before to trade. This is a really a good hotspot to bring your things to auction if you want to sell them that way, find buyers for things. You even came here once to have an item appraised by a halfling, because there's a lot of expert appraisers and enchanters who live here. It was one you had found when your mine connected to an ancient tunnel. And it brought quite a pretty penny when you decided to auction it here. So it's not a place that you're unfamiliar with. About the time you head past the harbor and toward coastside, Trixie, can you make a perception check?
Nat 20.
All right. You see a dwarf cleric with well, I don't know how you described yourself, so you could just go ahead and describe.
So it's mainly flourished armor, shield. Basically, it's I've got gray eyes, light brown hair. Light brown skin and brownish red hair. Obviously, dwarf-sized. Significantly, like not middle-aged, but like young adult, I guess is what you want to say. So like 30s for humans. But yeah, that's basically the appearance.
Okay. So you see this character walking toward kind of the seedier side of town, where you had started your part of the thing that we recorded for. We did like a half-hour thing with Trixie the other day.
She needed the practice.
And about the the time you see him is as he's walking past the Sage's Rose, just as Durn is exiting it. So you see the two of them kind of... You would see Durn kind of come out of the Sage's Rose, turn to continue walking down cliffside after you've got your drink and going to look for some supplies to make your journey. And you spot a familiar face, Warden.
Hey, Durn!
What? He's just like stunned for a second.
Come up and punch him in the back. I said, hey, Durn!
Oh, hi, hell. What are you doing here?
Oh, I'm here to do a little trading.
Oh, it's nice to see you.
I know, it's been a while.
Hi.
All the way back to the temple.
And his face kind of darkens at the mention of the temple. Aye.
Bad times?
You could see.
Oh, I'm glad I left.
So what? I mean, we're corresponding as good friends here. But what
Okay,
do I know about?
Background is you and I trained together. I was actually training to be a paladin. But towards the end of where we were going to take the oath, you ended up taking the oath to become a paladin. I ended up leaving the temple for what I called personal reasons. So that's where I learned my combat skills and Adept to Magic, and that's when it ended up being a cleric.
Is Atalanta a cleric of Atalanta, or?
Sure.
Well, as long as you're dedicated.
I'm just here or there. I'm wishy-washy.
Fair enough. All right. It's been too long since I've seen you.
I know. What had you been up to?
Oh, that right there is a tale for another drink, but I don't really have the time for it.
We're about 80 hours of podcast listening.
Right.
Go back and watch the podcast.
Maybe if you go to d8night.com. No.
No, yes,
Trixie,
please do.
are you trying to be in earshot of this, or where are you when you see this happen? That person you saw?
Close enough to be able to follow them, but not necessarily within earshot.
Okay.
Actually, brother,
If I catch stuff, then that's bonus.
do you have the time to come in and have a quick drink with me?
Oh, I do.
Hey, that's good to hear.
I always have time for a quick drink.
I guess you go right back inside.
So now, this halfling who's just cleaned the glass that you left behind, just tilting back up in her chair, pulling the hat down, sees you and this time another dwarf bust in through the door, and she just scrambles to her feet, kind of tries to adjust a ratty-looking apron, and goes, "Adi, you're back already."
Aye.
I haven't been here.
I'll take another ale and one for my friend.
You can roll an insight check as she gets a glance at all of your armor as well. As you clang, both of you clang inside. No, you just nothing. Like, she looks totally happy to see everybody. Not worried at all.
Well, she had one dwarf, now she has two. Business is looking good.
All right. I suppose you'll be wanting something to eat, something to drink. What'll it be, boys? You look like you'd have a healthy appetite.
I ate on the ship. I'll just take the ale.
Okay, another ale it is.
I'll have a plate.
All right, that's fine. What would you pick? We've mutton, or we've got deer with cider, or what would you have?
Oh, let's try the deer.
Deer, okay. Bring you a bit of deer, and hard cider would be about 4 silver pieces. And
I didn't know you were a vegetarian.
so Trixie, as the two of them start getting their meals inside, you see the two of them disappear into the sage rose from about 50 feet back. Heard that they kind of said, it's been a long time. You could go ahead and roll a perception check for hearing.
16.
You heard bits and pieces of the conversation. Sounds like people who haven't seen each other in a while, but that's about what you picked up from it. And then off they went inside for a drink. What's your plan?
Hunker down in a corner for a little while to keep an eye on it, and if I pop out unexpectedly, I won't scare anybody.
Inside or outside?
Not outside.
Outside?
Because
Okay.
otherwise, if I just appear in the middle of the common room,
Yeah.
that would not be good.
Go ahead and roll a stealth check at advantage if you want.
Yes, I want.
Maybe you should go into the privy and hide in there just in case. One of us says-
19.
Huh?
19.
Okay. Yeah. There's kind of a ruins of a little shack across the street from this Sage Rose. Looks like it's got 2 walls left in it. Somebody's been pulling wood off of it to burn by the look of what's left of the shack. And you just kind of find a spot in the shadows over there that it's making to perch yourself for a little bit.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Looked like you had a realization. Is there something else?
Yeah, I remembered I have spells.
Yeah, you do.
Not that I just spent the time writing them out on little cards.
Okay.
I wrote out 16 spells, and I just realized I have spells.
Josh. 6.
Thanks for listening to Date Night. I'm Mike. If you want more of our date night content, I wanted to let you know about our premium episodes that are only available on Podbean or directly at datenightpodcast.com. If you go to our website and click on the Behind the Screens tab, you can become our premium member and get one more episode every month at least. Now, these episodes have alternate GMs, guest crew, and sometimes it's a normal crew, but in different situations other than our main campaign. That's pretty cheap. It's only $2 a month or $20 for the yearly subscription, so you'd save $4 or 2 months worth of subscription. It's also a great way to support us and help cover the cost of running the show. So again, click on that Behind the Screens tab over at d8nightpodcast.com to learn more. Or if you're a Podbean listener, you can subscribe directly from there, in the mobile app or the desktop site. Now, back to the action.
Okay, back to the dwarfs.
So I spend a little bit of time relating to him, like a short summary of
short version.
getting taken by the orcs to Lamosh and not breaking free, but getting free, and a little bit, not the whole thing.
You broke one hinge.
Not all 80 hours of content here, but
So basically, we're trying to save the world. And then I said, fuck you guys.
and then my mood darkens a little bit because I still feel bound by the laws of the temple because I did take my oath, even though I know he's not going to understand everything about it. You know, just like the breaking the law, even though they were sort of minor laws, and sort of finishing up with. And I still do not know if I've done anything wrong. I mean, I broke the laws, but
then you abandoned your friends. I'm sorry.
they were all assholes anyways. They don't care about that. But
Oh, I know a thing or two about assholes. That did not come out the way I
Another
intended it.
uncomfortable.
that has been a long time, eh, brother?
Personal reasons, huh?
Looking pretty fine there, Durn.
Well, this has been a good one shot. No. I broke the law, and you know as well as I do the temple's rules about that. But Atalanta, it's like she was telling me that what I was doing was still the right thing. I cannot make it work in my head.
Oh, I know what you mean about doing the right thing. I guess we can talk about it now. The reason why I left the temple because I grew up in the mine, and I had to go back. The owner who ran the mine, he died, and I felt like it was my duty to go back and run it the way he ran it, to make sure that people had good working conditions and able to make money and put food on the tables, because that's the way I grew up. And then I'd rather It'd be me helping them the way they helped me.
Aye. I just don't know. I know what the temple would say. The temple would say that I've broken my vows. And you remember as well as I do what happens to paladins who break their vows in the mountain. But I still feel Atalanta's grace on me. Is the temple wrong, or?
I don't know.
Aye.
I cannot help you with that.
Well,
but perhaps you could help me while you're here.
what you need, brother?
I'm looking for someone, particularly in this city.
Okay, can you narrow it down a bit? I found lots of people.
There is lots of people, but the only one in particular that I'm concerned about. And it has to do with that large ship that's parked out front.
Oh, aye, I know that one.
Yes, the Grey Castles.
Aye.
Yes. I'm looking for the Cayman.
You're looking for who now?
Cayman Grey Castle.
All right, who's he? He's not one of mine, I know that.
No, he, let's just say I have to speak to him.
All right, what's he look like? I remember the Grey Castles were humans, right?
Aye.
All right, so looking for tall people. That should be easy.
Yes, but to us, they're all tall people.
Oh, well, that makes it easier.
You want to describe him?
Sure. Cayman.
Your voice changed, brother.
Cayman. He's a tall fella, like you say. He's got kind of salt and peppery hair, dreamy eyes.
That sounds like a Grey Castle right there.
Bit of an asshole.
He's got a thick, bushy mustache, but hasn't gone the full dwarf. You understand? No beard.
Aye.
Disgrace.
Hard to go
It's like a lady beard.
And his face on one side of his mouth kind of droops to the side. Old injury. Probably wearing finery like he would. The Grey Castle crest usually probably wouldn't be too far from him, so that people know who he is. He's that type, you understand.
Oh, aye.
I'm done being you.
All right, that shouldn't be too hard. Is he still on the dock, do you know?
Oh, I watched the ship. I saw things come off and go on. I never saw him, but I don't know. I don't know if he's on the ship or if he's already got off before I got here. I really don't know. That's why I need to find him.
All right, well, 2 dwarves are better than 1, I suppose.
Always.
Aye.
2 dwarves are better than 2 humans.
So I guess that's eat his food and I guess we can go.
So they're in there a while because they eat some food. Around half an hour after they're in there, you find yourself able to see your wings in front of you again. So looks like your invisibility has dropped.
Yes.
Any change of plans or anything?
I would probably, being as it's been a while, I would probably go in and try and get a bite of food and just...
Okay. You pop in. Looks like one dwarf is finishing up his meal of deer and hard cider, and the other one's had a few tankards of ale. And they're the only 2 inside having a bite, and there's a halfling woman kind of over in the side who looks over at you and says, "Hi, is there anything I can get you?"
Make an insight check.
Just a small bite to eat.
Yeah, you don't look like you could eat a whole lot, do you, dearie? Let's see. I've got a little bit of deer. We've got a little bit of mutton. We've breads.
I guess a little bit of deal would be fine.
All right. Be 4 silver pieces, and it'll be out in... Oh, it's in the pot, so I'll just go make your plate for you.
Thank you.
And she goes, kind of ducks into a little door on the side and into a small room in the back where it looks like she's got a hearth. Comes back out with your food, puts it down, sitting at one of the only maybe 4 or 5 tables in the place other than what's at the bar, unless that's where you are. There, you guys were at the bar, you said, right?
Aye.
Unless you want to sit up there with them.
I don't know if I'm tall enough to get on those stools.
Okay. Well, it's a halfling place, so you probably would be.
Oh, I do have wings. I could flutter myself.
It's not very... I mean, the things here look like they're mostly for halflings. The dwarfs look actually a little big on the stools.
That's a first rate.
I would
with
still
the
probably
armor.
have to flap my wings to give myself a boost if I
Okay.
were to sit there.
All right. So you
Holy
guys
crap, what was that?
wrap up your meal as a little owling comes in and perches herself on a stool, orders some food. What's the plan?
What time is it?
It's probably
Oh, it's about 2:40 p.m.
between lunch and supper time, like a 3 p.m., something like that.
So we're day drinking. This is a good start.
Oh, always.
Hey. So I suppose we should go look for your grey castle there.
Yeah. I guess we could try the ship first. It's closer.
Hey, couldn't hurt.
All right.
All right. So I guess you could roll a perception check, Trix.
Darn, that's right on the edge. Ten.
You hear clang, clang, creak, creak as the stools
I'm
almost
sitting like
give
5
way.
feet away from them.
And you hear them talking. Yeah, we could have it all. Had a little bit of
We've got Irish.
I can't do Scottish. So
We've gone drunk.
yeah, you
Irish.
hear them kind of say something.
Oh, I did,
a little bit into their cups.
The more we drink, the more Irish our accent gets.
And then off they go.
Leprechaun.
Off they go.
Roll for Lucky Charms.
As you're a few bites into your meal.
I'd like a blue moon, please.
All right, so you guys head outside, start walking down the alleyways in Cliffside, and head toward, or not Cliffside, Coastside, and head over to where the harbor is.
Clang, clang,
Yeah,
clang.
clanging as you go. Clunk, clunk, clang, clang. You just hanging out and finishing your food.
I'll scarf it down because that's what owls do anyways.
That's true. You can eat it again later.
Tune in next time for more biology lessons. She heads outside, pecks some rocks.
All right.
I'm an owl.
And you
I don't know what other birds do. I just
following or
It should not be hard to follow clang, clang, clang,
no,
clang.
it's not. But you just try not to be seen, or just don't care.
At this moment, I don't care because it's crowded
All right, just walking around.
and I'm shorter than everything else.
So the owling still
That's a first.
you see occasionally, but it doesn't stand out particularly in this place because there's so many different types of people. But you make your way over to the harbor. It's a 20-minute walk or so that way. A number of ships there, people selling fish at a market, clams, shrimp, also some just general traders who look like they're unloading and bringing stuff not to the seaside market but further into town that have brought it in on ships. And the big Grey Castle flagship is there too.
oh, look at that! Somebody's compensating for something.
Oh, I. Oh, not me. Sorry. I mean, no, of course not.
So, do we see? What was his name again? I'm sorry.
Cayman.
Cayman. Do we
Yeah.
see Cayman?
You can, while you're kind of sitting around waiting, you can make perception checks if you want.
2. Sorry,
12.
my wisdom's -1. 1.
1 and 12.
Yes.
Durn, you're looking at the wrong ship for the moment.
There's a glare coming off the armor.
You kind of just stare it out.
Durn, turn around.
What? There it is.
Word. And you see it looks like it's mostly crew of the ship wandering around. It doesn't look like they're waiting on anybody. It looks like they'd be probably a little more in ship shape if any of the nobles were around, but it looks like they're kind of goofing off a little bit with each other and letting off some steam.
Do you think we should go ask?
Well, we could try.
I mean, I'm guessing you just need him for some trading, right?
Correct.
All right, let's go ask.
All right.
Playing across to the dock.
Running.
Right next to
I should have bought some like pie plates or something from.
Right next to
Coconuts.
a pretty wide, actually carpeted gangplank that's coming down off the flagship to the dock here. And one of the sailors walks over to the edge when he sees you walk over. And do you go up the gangplank or?
No, we'll stop at the bottom. Be respectful.
Just sees you stop down there at the bottom and kind of leans over the rail. He's like, "Oi, what is it?"
It's Cayman here.
No, that old stuff. No, he's gone in the town
shifty,
proper,
doesn't it?
He's not going to stay on board here any longer than he has to, is he? He's gone up. So far as I know, he's gone to Clifftop.
Do you happen to know where he's staying on Clifftop?
Hold on a second. Cherry. Yeah, where's the big man staying, you know? Yeah. He's at the, I think he's at the Hellhound.
Hellhound.
Yeah, Flying Hellhound up in Clifftop. Only the best, you know, only the best for the master.
Aye, what are you hauling?
Mostly just him. He's here, business of some sort or another. He comes here fairly often.
It's an awful big ship for one man.
He won't ride on none of the other ships. He says he got this one. So, you know, if they can't pull him around, what's the point in having it?
Compensating,
go
right?
home.
Can't say as I know, but I can suspect.
All right, you've been a good lad. Thank you.
All right, you too.
Well, you want to go to Clifftop?
Of course.
All right.
Walk past the Elling who's walking behind us.
Yeah, I guess keeping distance a little bit.
Who's that?
What was when they went that way? Were you just kind of following still, or
She stops and looks around awkward like, oh.
Pulls out a newspaper.
you could roll a perception check since they were shouting to each other,
She's
Look here.
standing this direction and
even
turns
if you
her
were
head
kind
the
of
other
far
direction.
back.
Look here.
Can it
who
be an
died?
advantage since they were shouting?
I mean, you're still near the ocean and stuff, so probably not.
Can I come closer and roll again?
Well, how close did you want to be when all this was happening?
Well, there's lots of people around. I could just be walking through and looking at the sights.
They went out onto the dock to this
Oh.
ship by themselves. So that's what I'm wondering if you went behind them.
How long is this dock?
It's a big ship, so it was a little haul to get out there.
Okay, that makes sense. That explains my 10.
Yeah. You just hear the ocean, the clanging, the dock kind of knocking against the side of the ship.
And some muffled...
No more Irish.
It's a big enough dock that they
We're
could
drunk,
actually
remember?
dock a 3-masted flagship without getting into little dinghies and rowing the people in. So it's a serious part of the harbor. Probably would have been really expensive to even dock there. It doesn't look like they don't have too many of those that go out that far and would have the capacity to have a full ship come into town. But a few, as they unload trade supplies and things. But you don't really hear, you see them holler up to the sailors on top of Cayman's ship, turn back around and start heading the direction that they were before, back toward coast side.
Okay.
All right. So you pass the owling again. As you get back on the ship, she's looking out toward the
Shit,
flagship.
bar.
No, I think it's a different one.
Oh, okay. They all look the same to me.
Hi.
Yeah, so the only way to get up to,
Don't decline.
unless you go all the way kind of around, they have these basically pulley type elevators in the side of the cliff where you get on this big platform. It's got kind of a cage built around it, and they have mules that pull the other side of it and pull people up to either the cliffside district, which is actually a bunch of like ladders and things built onto the side of the cliff to get from building to building, but it can also take you all the way up cliff top where some of the fancier structures are.
Durn is visibly uncomfortable at this prospect.
Yeah, so you get over there. There's just a little halfling who's standing near the elevator, which is down at the current moment there. And he says, "Aye, well, you didn't need to go up."
Oh, aye.
Aye. Why could you have just built into the perfectly good mountain? Why'd you have to build outside of it?
Well, I mean, some of the houses go down a wee bit further.
All right, let's get this over with.
If you're uncomfortable taking this up to the top,
I mean, I'm uncomfortable with
how
heights.
how far are you going?
To the top.
I'm afraid this is the only way to get to the top. If you're just going to cliffside, you could take the inside stairs, but they don't go all the way.
We got to go all the way up.
It will be a lot if you're going to take the inside stairs to cliffside and take their outside stairs to the top. That's probably a little more hairy than taking the elevator.
Take the elevator. He just goes in like the back and kind of hunches down and closes his eyes. Tell me when it's over.
Don't worry, Durn. I've done it several times.
All right. And,
You're a madman.
He kind of has a little bit of a limp. He limps over to where the mules are and starts prodding them to come forward. They've worn a muddy kind of mess in front of them from going back and forth, and they move the elevator up with this like jerking motion that makes it stop, start, crunch up against the wall a little bit, and then move up a little bit further.
Roll a wisdom save.
Roll a charisma check.
7.
So Durn asking, "Are we almost there?" As you're about 8 feet up off the ground.
We've been on this for hours.
And a good 5 minutes or so later of pure terror for Durn.
Are we there yet?
You
Are we
make
there
it
yet? Please tell me we're there.
up to the top where the thing moves away from the cliffside because it goes up a little bit further so that you can get out. Swings in toward the actual land, then swings kind of back out over the open space and eventually comes back to rest over the top of the cliff top. Poof, down onto the ground there.
We're there.
I guess it wouldn't go onto the ground. It just kind of moves so that it's parallel so you can step off. Maybe a little bit of space of that you have to
That's a long
move
way
over.
for a door from my legs.
Aye.
All right. You go ahead and get
Just kinda
off.
Heaves himself.
And you're in the cliff top district.
Once I saw they went on the elevator, I would have flown up
Yeah, you're ahead of them
and then hidden in a corner.
easily. Okay, roll a stealth check. And the two you can roll perception checks.
I had my eyes closed the whole time.
Yeah.
14, and I was thinking about possibly doing silent image, hiding in a corner someplace.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I got a 7.
Okay. Good. Around that time, Worden, you remember the halfling was pulling your leg a little bit. There's plenty of ways like you could walk up inside the mountain instead of going up on the thing. But I don't know if that was something you were hiding from Durn or just weren't thinking about at the time.
Hey,
Or
Durn,
delighting
next
in
time we'll
his-
go down through the mountain.
There's another way. Oh, fuck that halfling. But remind me to kick his arse on the way back.
He's just down 300 feet below. No,
He was only pulling a wee leg.
Tiny Tim got really dark.
he just wanted your the 5 copper he got for pulling the elevator. At the peak of the cliff, you can see a long, lush stretch of land with high-dollar inns that overlook the ocean. There's a big auction house up here as well, with a huge sign on it, and it also looks like an outside kind of auction area, not too dissimilar to what you saw in Silvera's Blessing, as kind of like a staging area to bring in a bunch of supplies and have auctions on. But there's also a big interior section in kind of like building that's kind of like an L-shaped structure around the courtyard where it looks like they have the outside auctions. There's a very simple town hall type structure. Looks like it's fairly busy outside of it with fountain and gardens. There's a nicer halfling hole built into a small hill up here on the top.
Halfling hole.
That looks like it's a lot fancier than anything built into the side. There is what looks like an exit coming up out of the ground, not too far away. You didn't really see it until somebody walked out of it and then started walking into town. And way in the distance on the other side of Clifftop, you can see a small hill with some really large, like ancient trees on top of it, and hippogriffs roosted among them up there. That's about what you can see in Clifftop when you get up there.
Well, you think maybe the inn?
It's at the Flying Hellhound, right?
Aye.
Yeah, let's go.
Is there like a Disneyland-looking sign around here that says this way to Flying
This is
Hellhound?
where you are. No, but you're kind of, when you came up on the elevator, you're kind of almost on the end of town. Like that's on the right end of town, and the hippogriff roost is on the left end of town, kind of bookending it. So, kind of only one way you could really go and start looking. It's weird. All the large things that like could be inns are up against the cliff, like so they can see out to the ocean. Like this is the not seaside, but like if you were going to rent a place, right? This is where you would want to rent because you'd have a great view of the ocean. Yeah. Behind them are houses. They're not slapdash or anything like the ones down below, but it looks like just, where people who maybe work up here, other types of people who live around here live behind those inns. But they look mostly residential with a little marketplace back behind it. But all the big structures like the town hall and things all are near the edge of the cliff.
Let's go that way.
So you walk past, you get a little closer to that one halfling house. You see that it's set aside for the mayor. You do see a bunch of people gathered at the town hall where they're actually a bunch of people moving around in the courtyard, setting up like big bells on top of...
I'm getting flashbacks of Grease Wizard right now.
On
I want a lifetime's worth of bells.
Like this big, long, like cedar pole that they're bringing them out on, and there's a whole bunch of people kind of hauling them out, and somebody directing them to like lift it into place over this long stretch that is right near the edge of the cliff. You walk kind of between that and the town hall as you go.
Can we see what's going on in the town hall?
Yeah, sure. There's just a bunch of people walking around in
They're
front.
not having like a meeting or anything.
No, it looks like they're setting up
Okay.
stuff. Like
All right.
there's that. There's people setting up. Looks like some sort of tents in the courtyard in front of the town hall, and then behind the town hall, it looks like they're putting together some kind of like a stage or something. But you could ask, and just
Hey,
anybody
what are y'all
who's working
planning?
on it. Oh, you're not from in town, are you?
No, I come in every now and then.
Oh, well, today we're setting up for the Feast of the Bells, which we'll be having day after tomorrow. You're welcome to come up here. You can buy one meal, or you can buy the whole day. Many people who live here in town celebrate it at home in their own way, but basically a bell rings and we eat. It's a good day.
That's the greatest holiday I've ever heard in my life.
Can we ring the bell multiple times?
Aye.
Right, we ring the bell about every hour throughout the day, and
Real every hour.
That's at least, he tries to count on his fingers.
and
That's at least 6 hours.
people celebrate, in different ways. Some folk have tea and cakes at certain hours, and up here in the town hall and nearby, many of the people who work here, the mayor and some other folk who want to pay for the meals, come in. Again, they buy one feast or they buy the whole day, different things at different hours. And all the money helps, us keep things afloat here in the town. It's one of the ways we do a little bit of fundraising, and everybody has a nice time.
And you said that was a day and a half?
Yeah, it's the day after tomorrow.
Okay.
So feel free to come back if you like.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So that's what they're setting up for.
So I guess we'll continue working to try and find the Hellhound.
Sure. You make it to it's very nice district all up here. There's a couple of fine shops around it, and it stands next to a really fancy home that's just kind of tall and narrow, taking up not too much of the real estate here, but has a very good view of the ocean. It's a big brick building that stands there with the sign outside, says the Flying Hellhound, and it's just got this, looks more like a jumping dog with like flames coming out of its mouth.
I guess the Flying Hellhound sounds better than the jumping dog.
They went quite literal, didn't they?
The jumping crisp dog. All right. Go inside. There's finely made thick wood tables on top of like wrought iron stands. A collection of a couple magical weapons hanging up over the hearth. There's a young elf girl who's greeting you at the door as you come in. Says, you're going to be here for a meal or to stay, or
Oh, actually,
would you like somebody to take your armor? We don't allow. I know you look like men of the plate, but we don't allow
what kind of plate?
warn you to wear your weapons in the lobby. We'd be happy to stow them for you until you come back downstairs.
It's my hammer.
Oh, it's okay. I know a guy.
Right.
So he's let's sketch out real quick. He's a servant who works in the Flying Hellhound, and he
Okay.
probably get us in the back door.
Okay, so you go back out the front.
Yeah.
He's got a
Durn's
thing.
got his hand like ready to take off all his. Oh, we're leaving.
He knows this area, so we're doing a thing where he can know a guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I have a special talent called I Know a Guy,
Oh,
which basically means I sketch out an NPC that will help us move the story along, and he moves the story along.
all right then.
So you go around to the back. Go ahead and roll a charisma check.
Oh, that's not a good charisma check.
6.
All right, so you go around the back, and there's this kind of busboy type who walks out the back. He's a dragonborn, kind of green-colored scales, wearing just an apron, bare-chested underneath it, pair of leather pants, with tail sticking out the back. And you see him dumping some stuff into the dumpster out there. So you got it. What? I guess you can come up with a name. You could come up with the whole NPC but I guess I did this one next time.
Paul.
You want to be
Paul the Dragonborn.
You want to be Paul? Hey, Paul!
Shit. Warden.
Hi. Remember that time I helped you out?
Yeah, and remember the other times I helped you out because you helped me out?
Yes, but that's inconsequential.
It wasn't to me, and it's why I'm working here now.
Look, I just need you to leave the door unlocked on your way back in.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't mind. We can go back in the front.
Trust me.
This feels very non-paladin-y, but okay.
Well, make it worth my while a little bit.
Say three gold?
Sure.
All right.
He takes the 3 gold. Just give me a couple minutes. I'm out of here soon, okay?
All right.
I just have to jump this, and then I can pack up. All right, so he goes back inside, glances over at you as he goes in the door, sticks a little brick in it to keep it open, and walks inside.
All right, shall we?
I'm the worst paladin ever.
We're not doing anything wrong.
That's debatable. All right, let's just go.
Thanks for sharing our date night with us and exploring a whole new world together. We'll see you again next week. Until then, keep in touch by following us on Twitter at Date Night Podcast or visiting d8nightpodcast.com.